Music is all about the things we have been through in life and all of the things we have observed. And it takes a long time to figure out how to express those observations and how to express those experiences. Add on collaboration, and you have to put in a lot of time with people to understand their observations and their experiences and figure out how you both can collaborate on expressing those things together. And it can cause a lot of boundaries to be crossed. So in this particular episode of Lex Chat, I want to chat about the different ways that professional boundaries get crossed or how they can be crossed when it comes to collaboration and some things that we should keep in mind to make sure we're not crossing boundaries. If this is a topic you are interested in hearing more about, then make sure you stay tuned. When it comes to collaboration, it is a really great thing to do. It's a great way to expand not only your skills, but also your network. But there are some things that we do need to be mindful of when we are collaborating. When it comes to music, music is very involved emotionally and time-wise. There's a lot of investment time-wise when it comes to doing music by yourself. Add someone else into the mix and professional boundaries get crossed, lines get blurred, feelings get involved, and it can be a recipe for disaster and drama and just a whole bunch of other things if you are not careful and if you are not on point. There was a time when I was a little bit younger and a little more inexperienced where I didn't really understand how certain boundaries can be crossed when it comes to working in music, because I think I still very much had some rose-colored glasses on. I hadn't necessarily gone through the issues of some of the stuff that happens with industry people and things that go on behind the scenes. And so I very much had like rose-colored glasses on, right? But as I got older, as I got more mature and more experienced, I started to understand how boundaries get crossed and how I need to be more on point when it comes to protecting myself. And I especially learned this lesson after a situationship that failed, where a lot of ways that I should have been proactive and I should have been protective over my relationship, I just wasn't privy to the ways that I could protect that relationship as well as myself, most importantly myself. So I wanted to talk about this because there are a lot of creatives who are in relationships, right? And part of being successful in music and in any industry, any field really, is that collaboration, is that networking, knowing how to talk to others and using and leveraging relationships to climb the ladder higher and higher and reach greater successes in the industry, right? Same thing with music. I want to talk about, though, how lines can get blurred and how we need to be careful and mindful of the environment that we are in. And we need to make sure that we're not confusing something for what it's not. So let's get right into it. Here are some things to be mindful of when you are working and collaborating and making music. First off, you're usually in tight spaces. And I do mean literally, physically, you are in tight spaces. When it comes to being in a recording studio, they're not the biggest spaces. They're not the largest rooms, unless maybe you're working with an orchestra or something. But a lot of sessions, it's usually going to be writing sessions when you are in a collaborative environment. It's going to be you, an engineer, a producer, another songwriter or two. That could be like 5, 6, sometimes 10 people, depending on how big the camp is. But the room itself, the actual size of the studio room, is usually not that big. And you are literally in close proximity to these people. Add on to that, you are going to be spending a lot of time with these people in these physically tight spaces. So familiarity is breeded through time and through proximity. That's when bonds start forming. That's when people start feeling deeper emotions and, you get a sense of camaraderie and all those things. So on top of being physically very close to these people, you're also spending a lot of time with these people, and you are spending time with people going into the late hours of the night. And we all know that no good thing really happens after really 10 o'clock, but I'll give you midnight. Good things don't really happen past midnight. And so you are in these tight spaces with these people for long periods of time. Do you see how things can get blurred? Do you see how boundaries can get crossed? Music requires time and presence. So the longer you're around people, the closer you are, the more you are talking to people, it's inevitable that you're going to form bonds. You're going to form closeness and familiarity. That's just the way that things work. It is inevitable. Do not confuse this work with friendship. You are in close proximity to these people. You are spending a lot of time with people. And as I mentioned in the introduction, you are finding ways to express the things that you've been through, the things you've observed, and you are swapping stories back and forth, listening to one another, talking about different things. A lot of times trying to figure out what you want to talk about on a song. So you're learning the experiences of other people. You're learning how other people observe the world, and you're all figuring out how you can express these experiences and these observations into one collaborative piece of work, which is going to be a song. So inevitably, you're getting to know people on a deeper level. You're close to them, you're spending time with them, you're swapping stories, you're sharing experiences, you're laughing, you're crying, you're getting angry. All kinds of emotions are swirling when it comes to these collaboration sessions, or at least they should be in a good collaboration session. And you're trying to figure out, like I said, how to express these things. And you're collecting a lot of personal details about each other. But the thing that you have to remember is you're not necessarily sharing details about yourself to form friendship. You are sharing details about yourself with the people in the room because y'all are looking for the most authentic sound, the most authentic song you can get, because authenticity is what wins awards. Authenticity and relatability and being able to have people connect over the music. If we can get the people in this room to connect on this topic, on this feeling, on this vibe, then we can get the whole world to connect. And that's very much the thinking when it comes to creating music. But the difficult part is you cannot necessarily confuse sharing these personal details with people with developing a friendship. This is still very much a professional environment. And what you're doing is not for friendship bonds. It is literally to get the best product out of each other, which is the music. So you have to be very careful with this. I know it's confusing, but you got to be very, very careful. These people are not necessarily your friends. They are your colleagues. They can develop into friendships, yes. But first and foremost, the reason why you are in this session and to collaborate is to work off of each other's emotions, work off of each other's experience and skills to get a better product than what you would have been able to do by yourself. The next layer that you have to be considerate of is the fact that not only are you in a tight space with these people, not only are you spending a lot of time with these people in these tight spaces, but when you are spending a lot of time with people, people get hungry, people get thirsty, people like their vices. You are eating, you are drinking, you are smoking, you are doing drugs with these people into the late hours of the night. You're sharing personal stories, you're getting closer, you're developing bonds, developing friendship, all that good stuff, right? Inevitably, you eat with people, you drink with people, you share stories and you laugh and you cry and do all those things together, you form bonds. That could cause you to overstep some boundaries, especially when smoking and drinking and the drugs get involved, right? You're very much trying to make sure that everybody is comfortable because you want everybody to be loose. You want everybody to be open and share their stories and their experiences. And how do people get open? Over a meal, over drinks. Some people like to smoke. You know, weed is probably the most common thing you're going to see in the studio, but there are other things that happen in the studio as well. And when you are partaking in these things, that is lowering your inhibition and is causing your judgment to be swayed. You're not necessarily going to be making sound judgments when you're in a certain state of mind as a result of indulging in the smoking and the drinking and the drugs. So this is what I mean when I say, and I've mentioned it in other videos before, a lot of people on the outside think that music and being a superstar and being famous is fun. And it is, it can be. And it seems like a constant party, right? Because that's the vibe that we have to create within a session to get certain sounds, to get certain performances out of the artists, to get certain lyrics out of the songwriters, to get certain feels from the producer to put all this stuff together into a song. It can be a party, okay? It can really be whatever you make it. It depends on the vibe that you want to get, but it can be a party. And yes, it can be fun, but this is not something that is new to us, or at least it shouldn't be. The thing that makes music so difficult and it can blur lines and cross personal boundaries is we are creating music, we are creating the product for environments that cause people to be in situations where they're not necessarily making the best decisions, right? And so a lot of people, what they see as fun, it's our everyday. being in the studio, drinking, smoking, laughing, twerking, dancing, doing whatever, that looks a lot of fun. Translate that into the club, it is a lot of fun. Translate that to lounges and concerts and events and, I don't know, parties and stuff like that. It is fun, but it is not for the purpose of fun for us as the creatives of the music that we have produced, the music that we have created. This is our everyday. This is our lives. We are not everyday people. We're not regular people. We make this stuff for regular people to consume and to help them escape their daily life or whatever it is they're trying to escape from. They just want to have fun. They want to cut loose. That is what we create. But we should not be surprised. We should not be taken off guard by this thing that we are creating and what it takes to create this music sometimes. And I hope I'm making sense, right? What everybody else calls a party or a concert or a lounge or a club, this is just the office. This is every day. This is what we do. We're not regular people, which means we cannot necessarily indulge the way that regular people do. And we have to be mindful that we're not everybody else. I'm going to keep reiterating that. We are not everybody else. Anybody else that was in this situation, this would be a party. This would be a time to cut loose. But this is still very much business, and we still have to conduct ourselves a certain way, which means we have to be on point. When you're going into these places as a creative, yes, you want to indulge a little bit. You might have one or two drinks. You might have a couple smokes. You might have some hookah here and there. Some of you might even partake in the drugs, but you have to understand your own personal limits to make sure you're not going overboard, because that's when people get taken advantage of. That's when, and there are predators in the industry, which if any of you have followed the Diddy trial, or if you've seen his documentary, which I'm going to do a few episodes on, what I think about The Reckoning, which is the name of the documentary for the Diddy trial and everything. If you've seen any part of that or just heard any other stories of abuse within the industry, that's how it happens. People are partaking in what they think is fun. They think that the people they are around are their friends, but they forget these are colleagues. And this is not a party. This is business. This is a time for networking and gathering contacts. And music can be cliquish. It can be political. If you irritate the wrong people, your opportunities disappear like that overnight. People will stop inviting, and just a bunch of things, right? So as this all relates to collaboration, I know that we want it to be free and natural and fun. Do all of those things. But keep in mind that this is still a business. And the whole reason why you are doing this is because you want to create something greater than what you could have come up with by yourself. That doesn't mean that you completely let your guard down and just let anything happen, because then you're being messy and you're not handling the business. Your music might not even make it to that level because you couldn't handle yourself in this basic studio setting, right? Be very careful when you are in these settings. You're in close proximity, you're spending a lot of time, you're sharing personal details, you're smoking, drinking, eating, sometimes doing drugs. It's fun, it's a party, it's a great vibe. But guess what happens when the session is over? There are people who are trying to make sure that they are getting points on the song. They are making connections. They are recording. They are getting paperwork. You have to be present and aware of all of those things happening so that you can get your cut as well. But if you're not making sure that you're on point for this basic level of being in the studio, you still got a lot of growing and a lot of learning to do. So these are some things that I wanted to touch on for how personal and professional boundaries can be crossed when it comes to collaborating. If you are somebody who maybe you don't quite understand the culture or the nature of how making music works, this could be a very informative video for you. Or if you are dating, or if you are dating someone who is in the creative field, these are things to keep in mind when you are in a relationship with somebody. And these are some things that you need to understand about the creative process. Now, if you trust your person and if you trust yourself, you're going to be a-okay. You're going to be fine. But this is just to get you to understand how you can be tripped up. This is not to scare anybody. This is just for you to understand that you need to be on point. As much fun as this music stuff is, it is very much still a business, and you need to make sure that you are in a good position to handle your business and get your money. Otherwise, it would have been for nothing, and you just paid to have a party, basically. And it's not fun to waste money. We came to make money, not waste it, right? And we don't want to waste our time and our energy, so you got to stay on point. That's all I have for you for this particular chat. I thank you so much for tuning in to Lex Chat with me today. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and in the comment section, let me know what the next topic is that you want to chat about. Until next time, my name is LexC. Peace.
Life is a test. If you never learn a lesson, you never progress. You gotta invest, otherwise you only get the what ifs and regrets. I'm on a whole nother level. I got the link with the bezel. Diamonds on me like a medal. I know you mad, I never settle. From the top down, got the best view. People wanna know me when I step through. On purpose, no accidental. I'm on a whole nother level. I'm on a